Hey, got more movies to review. Yay. First movie I saw was The Lighthouse, and it's the best movie of 2019 so far. Probably one of the best of the decade. This movie absolutely deserves every amount of praise it gets, and people really need to go see it. So this movie is about two lighthouse keepers in the 1890s. That's all I want to say without spoiling it. This movie is directed by Robert Eggers, who wrote and directed The Witch, a horror movie that I loved, and think is one of the better horror films of the 2010s, but I wish they had taken the ending a bit further. The Lighthouse is better than The Witch, even though both are great movies. I don't really have any complaints about The Lighthouse. The Witch was a straight horror film, and while this has horror in it, it's also kind of a black comedy, and it's hilarious. Every scene with Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson that's meant for comedy is hilarious. And even though this is an art film, Robert Eggers is not above fart jokes, and after the first hour, it's complete insanity from here on out. The movie is filmed in black and white, fitting for the time period, and it's in the 4:3 ratio, like you're trapped on this island with these characters. I don't think this movie would have been as good as it was if it was full screen and in color. Both Willem Dafoe and Robert Patrick are fantastic in their roles. The scenes where they're drunk are hilarious, and even when they're not drunk, they're still fantastic. Apparently, Robert Pattinson's Batman voice is inspired by Willem Dafoe in this movie. That's interesting. Now I want to hear Batman sound like the lighthouse keeper. It's nice to see he's moving on from Twilight. Now, this film was purposefully left ambiguous, and I have no idea what to make of that ending. Maybe part of this movie's real, maybe it's in his head, I don't know. There's also discussion over what this movie is about, such as like isolation, sex addiction, alcoholism, and abusive relationships. Which I can definitely see because neither character treats each other well, and I can see the other ones. This movie definitely requires more than one viewing, and currently at this moment I've only seen it once. Overall, The Lighthouse is a fantastic movie and the best of 2019 so far. I don't expect anything else to beat it. I love this movie, and I can definitely see it not being some people's thing, but I'm going to give The Lighthouse 5 out of 5. It's definitely a masterpiece. And now for the exact opposite of a masterpiece, Terminator Dark Fate, which is one of the worst movies I've seen this year. Now for this, I'm going to start off spoiler free, then talk about spoilers. Terminator Dark Fate is garbage. I did not like this movie at all. I watched all 5 previous movies before this, and this was my first time seeing most of them, so I'm not nostalgic for this franchise. But after watching these movies, why did Terminator have to be a franchise? They should have ended it with Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Why'd they have to keep going?
Gotta get money!
That explains it. This is the 4th attempt at a Terminator 3, and this movie throws all those movies out the window. It even flat out disrespects Terminator 2. This movie is directed by Tim Miller. The only other movie he's directed is Deadpool. So, based off the only 2 movies he's made, Tim Miller is a very hit-or-miss director. Now, before I keep dumping on Dark Fate, let's talk about the positives I have. It's nice to see Linda Hamilton and
Arnold Schwarzenegger
back, and I like this new Terminator. He's like the T-X from Terminator 3, but better. This guy is a liquid metal with a physical endoskeleton, but the liquid can come off of the endoskeleton and create another version of him, which is pretty cool. And that's where my positives end. I might as well start talking about spoilers now. If for some reason you want to see this and want to see my rating, skip to the time written on the screen. Here we go. Okay. The beginning of this movie completely disrespects Terminator 2. John Connor is killed in the first 5 minutes, just out of nowhere. The T-800 shows up and kills John. Why did John Connor have to die? Oh yeah, so they can make room for the new hero, some girl. And not against Skynet, but some thing called Legion. And since this is a sequel to Terminator 2, and John is killed off to make room for the new hero, it makes Terminator 1 and 2 just feel pointless. And if you want to kill off a beloved character, do it in a heroic way.
And I am Iron Man.
Like that. Not just killed like a little bitch. And after killing John Connor, the T-800 starts a new life under the name Carl, and lives in a cabin in the woods. So that makes the T-800 sacrifice pointless if he could just live in the woods. Also, he says that after he killed John, he felt bad about it, but Kyle Reese literally said they can't do that.
Cyborgs don't feel pain. I do. Don't do that again.
Just let me go.
Listen and understand that Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with. It doesn't feel pity or remorse.
He also has a drape company, which leads to one of the only moments I laughed in the theater. And apparently Skynet sent the T-800, the T-1000, and a few more Terminators that show up over the course of the last 20 years. And also, Skynet can't control when and where the Terminators show up. Kyle Reese and the T-800 both ended up on the same day in 1984. So why doesn't Skynet send all these Terminators back at once? For a better video about spoilers, go watch Jeremy John's spoiler talk on this movie. I hope that Terminator 7 is just the T-800 hunting and killing everyone responsible for every sequel after the second one. The alternate ending for Terminator 2 is Sarah and John permanently stopping Judgment Day, and we see them living happily late in the 2020s. That to me is how Terminator should have ended. Overall, Terminator Dark Fate is garbage and I hate it. Don't watch it. It's one of the worst movies of 2019. I don't know if it's worse than Genesis because that one was really bad too. But I'm going to give Terminator Dark Fate 1.5 out of 5. Hope you enjoyed, stay tuned for more videos, and Terminator ranking coming soon.